You've seen the ads, right? Testosterone. It's pitched as the key to male vitality, a way to basically turn back the clock on aging. But is it really a fountain of youth you can just get in a bottle? Or is the story, well, a lot more complicated? Let's get into it and separate the marketing hype from the actual medicine.
Okay, so here's a biological fact that nobody can argue with. As men get older, their testosterone levels, they just naturally drop. And that one simple fact has launched a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's all built around one really compelling question. If we can replace that lost testosterone, should we? Let's really break down the evidence. Okay, but before we can even begin to answer a question that big, we really need to get on the same page. We've got to understand the premise here. What exactly is this hormone, and what does it actually do in the body to begin with?
And honestly, its effects are just incredibly wide-ranging. We usually think about testosterone and immediately jump to sex drive and muscles, the usual suspects. But it's so much more than that. It's really a foundational hormone. It has a hand in everything from your bone density and your mood, all the way to the health of your heart. It's a massive player in a man's overall well-being.
So if this hormone is that important, what happens when it starts to decline? Well, this is where the whole story starts to get really complicated. Think about it. As men hit middle age and beyond, their testosterone levels start to fall. And at the exact same time, a lot of guys start experiencing the things we just, associate with getting older. Getting a bit weaker, gaining some fat, losing a bit of that sexual drive. The parallel is it's undeniable. And for scientists, this led to a really fascinating hypothesis. And this just illustrates the core idea perfectly. So hypogonadism, that's a medical condition where young men have abnormally low testosterone for their age. And what are the symptoms? Weakness, obesity, low libido. Sound familiar? It's exactly what we were just talking about. Scientists looked at this and had a light bulb moment. They thought, wait a minute, maybe the normal process of aging is just a slow motion version of this exact same condition. And that right there, that is the billion-dollar question that fuels this entire debate. The logic seems so simple, right? If low T causes these problems in young guys, and older guys have both low T and those same problems, well, then could testosterone replacement therapy, what we call TRT, actually turn back the clock? So, naturally, scientists started to investigate. Let's begin by looking at the promise of this therapy. What's the evidence that suggests this whole idea might just be right? And let me tell you, the promise is compelling. Early studies show that for some men, especially guys with clinically officially low levels, TRT could actually improve sexual desire, boost their mood, help them build muscle and bone, and even improve the health of the cells lining their blood vessels. I mean, on the surface, that looks like a total home run, right?
Well, not so fast. See, for pretty much as long as this therapy has been an option, leading scientists have been pumping the brakes, urging caution. And the reason why all comes down to some very, very big unknowns. Yeah, even going back 2 decades, top organizations like the Institute of Medicine were pointing out a critical problem. The studies we had, they were mostly small and they were short-term. So yeah, they showed some benefits, sure, but they told us almost nothing about what happens if millions of men start taking this therapy for decades. To really get why that's a problem, we got to look at how medical trials actually work. All right, so here's the crucial point. When you're testing a new treatment, you have to answer 2 totally different questions. First, there's an efficacy trial. That basically asks, does this work right now? But then you have a safety trial. That asks a much harder question. Is this stuff safe 10, 20, even 30 years from now? And believe me, answering that first question is way easier than answering the second. And this chart really shows you why. I mean, look at the difference. To see if testosterone improves someone's strength over a year, you might only need a few hundred guys in a study. But to find out if it causes even a small, but still meaningful, increase in something like heart attacks or prostate cancer over, say, a decade, you need thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of participants. And that takes a massive amount of time and money. So this left researchers with this list of really daunting questions. What are the real long-term risks to the heart, to the prostate? And think about it. We already have other treatments for things like weak bones or low mood. So the question became, are the benefits you get from testosterone so unique that they justify taking on these massive unknown risks? So for years, the whole debate was kind of stuck, right?
On one hand, you had some evidence of benefit. On the other, these huge, looming questions about risk. But recently, we finally started to get some much bigger, much better data. So let's look at the verdict, so far anyway, based on the highest level of evidence we've got.
Now, before I show you the result, you need to understand what a meta-analysis is. This isn't just one study. Think of it as a study of studies. Researchers go out, they gather all the best, most rigorous trials on a single topic, and then they use powerful statistics to combine them all and find the overall, most reliable answer. It is, without a doubt, the scientific gold standard.
Okay, so in 2021, a massive meta-analysis did exactly that. It pulled together the data from 11 different high-quality studies, looking at a combined total of over 20,000 men. And they asked a very simple, very direct question. Do men with naturally lower testosterone actually die sooner, either from heart disease or from any other cause? And the result, which you can see here taken directly from the paper, was, well, it was surprising. After crunching all that data from all those men, they found no significant link. That foundational idea we talked about, the one that says lower testosterone is a direct ticket to an earlier grave, it just wasn't supported by the best evidence we have.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Wait a second, how can that be? We literally just saw how low testosterone perfectly mirrors all these symptoms of aging. So how could there be no connection to mortality? It doesn't seem to make sense. Well, the answer seems to be that the relationship isn't just a simple straight line, where more is always better. The truth is probably a lot more complex, maybe something like a U-shaped curve. So what that means is the risk might only go up at the absolute extremes, like very, very low levels or artificially high levels. But for the vast majority of guys hanging out in that wide middle range, there just doesn't seem to be a clear link to increased risk. So after all that, where do we land? What is the final takeaway after literally decades of research? Well, as you've probably guessed by now, it's complicated. This table here really sums up the state of play. In one column, you have the clear potential benefits: better sexual function, improved mood, more muscle mass. But then you look at the next column, and you've got known side effects, like making sleep apnea worse or lowering your good cholesterol. And then there's that last column, the biggest questions of all. The true long-term risks for things like cancer and heart disease, we still just don't know for sure. And that right there brings us to the most crucial takeaway from this whole explainer. Treating low T isn't just about seeing a number on a blood test and deciding to fix it. It's a complex medical decision. It is a very real trade-off between potential benefits and potential, and sometimes still unknown, risks.
So let's go back to our original question. Is testosterone the fountain of youth? The evidence pretty clearly suggests no. It's a tool. It's a powerful tool, for sure, but it's not a magic bullet. The real question for healthy aging isn't just about chasing a number on a lab report and figuring out if it's the right answer for you. Well, that's a conversation you need to have not with the internet, but with your doctor.